right. Here's the next one.
News quite a bit, and it relates to appropriations accounts and some stories that have very much been taken out of context. And this morning we're here to give clarity on those reports and for us to talk about the fact that there's no missing funds. And so we have with us this morning two very important women with us. We have our Minister of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Favour Williams, with us. And we have our Financial Secretary, Darlene Morrison, with us here today at Post Cabinet. And so I'm going to ask the Minister if she could come and speak first, and then we'll invite the Financial Secretary after. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Allow me to begin by acknowledging my colleague Minister, Honorable Robert Lester Morgan, who had to slip out, colleague Minister, Senator the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, our Financial Secretary, Ms. Darlene Morrison. I know we have P.S. Troop here from the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, and Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Terry and Thomas Gale. Members of the media, Jamaicans all, good morning again. Making the rounds in social media, emails, and other media is an article written by Kimon Francis of the Jamaica Gleaner about findings by Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal that some $3 trillion are accounted for or unaccounted for. In that same article, I want to highlight that Kimon of the Gleaner said that Jeanette Calder, Executive Director of Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, herself said, it is not that the money is missing. It is that reports due to the Auditor General have not been submitted by several ministries. So I want to repeat that. It is not that the money is missing. It is that reports due to the Auditor General have not been submitted by several ministries.
Okay, so there she's saying the money is not missing. Keep that in mind. Minister Dana Morris Dixon said it, and the Minister of Finance said it. Next video.
Let me acknowledge you, and so it would be Mr. Sharp, Dr. Knight, and Mr. Rattigan. Go ahead,
Yes,
Mr.
Ambassador, good night.
Good
And
night.
Minister, good night. All protocols observed. Uh, Minister, I listened to your overview very carefully, and I noticed that you did not mention the impact of corruption on all the aspects you described. But be that as it may, uh, two questions. But let me just set the stage for the questions. On September 12th of 2020, you were appointed the Minister of Education. A year later, the Auditor General came out with a report saying that a company by the name of Joint Committee for Tertiary Education received approximately 124 million Jamaican dollars that they should not have received. And she recommended a surcharge action as well as possible fraud action. After that, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Education, they started pointing fingers as to who should bring this surcharge action. While they were doing that, the statute of limitation expired. And they brought the action against the acting permanent secretary, Ms. Grace McLean. The action was dismissed because of the statute of limitations. Since then, to the best of my knowledge, no action has been brought to recover this $124 million. Now, here's where we are. A few weeks ago at the post-cap meeting, you said that there is no missing funds. And this 124 million is part of the alleged 3 trillion that's unaccounted for. The statute of limitation for fraud action will expire this year. So if there is no action this year, that $124 million is gone and no one's going to prison. The question I have for you is this. Since you have said there are no missing funds, you haven't told us what the funds are. You just said there are no missing funds. Could you please describe to all of us the $124 million that's at risk for not going to help the children of Jamaica? And we talk about growth and development. You can't do that with an under or uneducated population. How do you describe that $124 million, and will we get it back? What's your plan to recover that $124 million? Thank you.
To the education sector. Some questions were raised about the 124 million. All the information that we had in the ministry at the time was turned over to the respective agencies. It has taken them quite some time now, but I can tell you, it might be long, but I'm sure that they will complete their investigation. In terms of the $3 trillion, I just want to explain that within government, the management of our funds has many guardrails. And what that entity, the organization that talked about that 3 million is that, and I had to explain this, there is a central ministry, a central budget for the country. It's called the Consolidated Fund, into which the majority of the funds flow. Before any ministry is assigned any money on an annual basis, they present their budget. For the year, they have to outline what it is they're spending on. We have a very rigorous procurement process. I mean, we are belly aching about it, given the strictures of that process. So there is knowledge about what money is spent on. Additionally, ministries are given funds on a monthly basis, and they have to submit their cash flow statements to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. And again, we have strict procurement guidelines, not just for infrastructure, but for services. You go through a whole process. So eyes are looking, there are persons looking over the process. What the Auditor General reported is that at various ministries, they are supposed to have audited statements. And there are ministries that are late for different reasons. Coming from the Education Ministry, there's a situation in which when I got there, accounts were not at that point where the information could go to the Auditor General. Since then, I can assure you that that ministry has done a lot of work, and many years of its statements are before the Auditor General. And I have a commitment to work with all the other ministries that are out of compliance with the Auditor General as to the submission of their information to be audited. So it's not that there has been no accounting of the monies. There's been proper accounting of it, and a lot of different guardrails are there, but they need to make that final step to produce the statements that can be audited. Just like if you have a business, you can produce financial statements and they're good and proper, your accountant would have done it and so on. But in a business, you have to get that final, sign off from the auditors. And that is where we are, with some of the ministries. But like I said, we have had some success since 2020 with the largest ministry. being able to submit several years' worth of information to the Auditor General.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. And I see where your very extensive financial background will be in use in helping all our ministries to get their accounts up to date in front of the Auditor General and get this misconception that being late means that monies have disappeared. So I'm very, very appreciative of your response, and I look forward to continuing to hear about the ministries getting up to date. Uh,
All right. All right, folks. Uh, here's where we are. Let's just go over what the minister said. Let's back up a bit. Let's go back to the two questions I asked. Two questions I asked. First question: How do you classify the $124 million? How do you classify? Because what they've said is they've said it's not missing. They haven't said what it is. We want to hear it was spent here, it was spent there, people benefited, but we don't hear that. What we hear is it's not missing, right? The 3 trillion, but this 124 that we're focused on, that's part of the 3 trillion. And we're hearing that money not missing. That's the first question. Classify the 124. And the second one is, what is your plan to recover that money? Now, implicit in the second question is that the money is gone. So that's why I'm asking her, first, classify it, and two, what's your plan to get it back? So the moment I'm asking her, what's your plan to get it back, it means it's gone, people. She didn't answer any of the two questions. Here's what she said. If you were listening carefully, she said, the information that the Auditor General was seeking, it was turned over to respective agencies. She didn't tell us whether they were investigative agencies or whether it's to the Auditor General. Didn't tell us that. She said, oh, they'll complete their investigations. It's been a while, but they'll complete their investigations. That's not an answer. She also said there are many guardrails to the process. People, there are many guardrails on the highway, and people still go over the guardrails. So telling me that there are guardrails, it doesn't tell me anything. Tell me how much people go over the guardrails. Guardrails is not a guarantee that there won't be an accident or a car won't cross the highway and go over on the other side. It's not a guarantee. Minister, you need to answer the questions. Don't obfuscate. Don't hide. Don't shroud the issues. Another thing she said was she started talking about consolidated funds and budget call. I didn't ask her about any of that. I know about the consolidated funds. I know about budget calls. Budget calls is simply where the financial secretary said to all the ministers, all the ministries, give me your budget for the year. And it happens around between October to December of every year. Because remember, the financial year is April 1st through March 31st. So I know all of that, but I didn't ask her that. She also said that there's a rigorous procurement process. I am going to show you what the procurement process looks like and how it was not complied with. She didn't answer the question. Then she says there are persons looking over the process. I'm going to show her that they put the fox for God, the in-house. Because the people who are supposed to oversee the money, they're the same people accused of making the money get away, letting the money was disbursed to places where money shouldn't have been disbursed. I'm going to show you that. Then she said, audited statements late. Yes, that's true. But I'm going to show you that it's $124 million. The audited statement, the statements came in. And I'm going to show you what the Auditor General said about those statements. She said also statements before and for some general, it's pure nonsense. Then she said there is proper accounting of the money. and fiscal steps to produce statement. Then she said that there's a measure they were waiting for the paperwork to be submitted. All poppycock, nonsense, foolishness. That minister can't come on this program, cannot come on this program, because we are going to ask her some questions that she don't even dream of. Her advisors cannot prepare her for coming on a program like this. No matter how much them try, they will never be able to prepare her, because the deed has been done and you can't cover it up. We are like sunlight, the best disinfectant there is, and we are going to expose it. So that's why they won't come around here, especially this lady. And then to top it off, our esteemed ambassador, the one who promised that she was going to work hard with the State Department to get the travel advisory level reduced, the one who failed at that, the one who's an abject failure, the one who should have gone home a long time, but she's still here. You hear what she said? She said, "Minister, I'm glad you laid it out with your explanation, and that basically you ridicule, or you show that there's a misconception that being late means that money disappeared." You hear that? So what they're trying to say is that it was just a filing deficiency. We were tardy in filing the paperwork, but no money is missing, and we're glad that you're here to explain all of this. Well, fasten on the seat. Here we go. Here's what we're talking about. This is the first one, right? This is the one we're talking about, and we showed it before, where it says Ministry of Education, they made payments amounting to 124 million to an entity which does not have a legal status. The purpose and use of the funds are unknown. Why would you give money to an entity which does not have legal status? It sounds like it's a problem. This actually came from the Auditor General's report, and this is an abbreviated form of the report. This is just a blurb. I'm going to show you the report, and you're going to be shocked. You are going to be shocked when you see this report. And that's why I've been pleading with my people. Read. Don't just depend on me and a few other people to read for you and give you. Read. The information is there, but we're not looking at it. But in the meantime, while you're preparing to read, I will continue to do the reading and provide it to you, so that at least I'll make your job easy. So you don't have to go look for it. I'll show it to you, and then you can just read it. Now, here it is, where she says 124 million paid to an entity which does not have a legal status, and the purpose and the use of the funds are unknown. I think there's another one here that I found rather interesting. Let me see. There's another one here. Let me see. Oh, see this one right here? See that? Where it says unidentified of approximately 15 million, and management at the Early Childhood Development Project asserted that the amount might relate to stipend paid to practitioners who separated from the early childhood institutions. All that means, people, is that they were paying salaries to people who weren't there. People who left. For years, people left. And somehow, these people were being paid. They were no longer employed, but they were being paid. Now, is this missing money? Is this unaccounted money? Is this stolen money? Is this misappropriated money? Is this money that has disappeared? Is this money that has been chopped? The long and short of it is that there is a loss. And I'll show you what the law says about, and the policy says about loss. I'll show you what it says. In essence, this $15 million that they're talking about, it did not go for its intended purpose. And they put might, which is even worse, Elaine, because you are supposed to know. You are the agency making these payments. So what do you mean might? What it tells you is that they didn't have the paperwork. Because if they had the paperwork, it would have been produced. That word would not be there. But because they don't have the paperwork, they have to come up with an explanation. But anyway, that's not the topic for the day, because we're going to go back to this in another show, not today. And we're gonna pull up that, and we're gonna pull up some other things. But this is the one that we're focused on. The 124 million. We'll make the 15 million go by for now, right? This is the one that we're focused on, the 124. All right. Now let's see what else is there. This 124 million, this is what became of it. They said that this lady was responsible for that. This lady, acting permanent secretary, Miss Joyce McLean. Now, Miss Joyce McLean was the acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. And you'll see later on where the Auditor General, she was actually doing an audit of another agency. And it turned out that there's a connection between that agency and the Ministry of Education. And I'm being told that Miss Grace McLean, her husband, don't know if it's true, but that he works over at that agency that they were looking at. So they didn't start out with the Ministry of Education. The investigation led to the Ministry of Education. And so look at what it says right here. It says at least 2 elite anti-corruption bodies have been asked by Education Minister Fayval Williams to investigate 124 million. Now remember now, she just said, and look at the date on this, 2021. 2021. This is what they said. Same minister you just heard from. Can't answer any questions. She's the one who said, according to this report, that she has asked 2 elite anti-corruption bodies to investigate this $124 million. And here it says right here at the top of the screen, it says in a terse statement on Thursday, the minister revealed that she had referred the matter to the chief technical director of the Financial Investigation Division in a letter dated October 2021. And there's a question here: how is it that she's doing this before the report was even tabled? But that's something else. And she also said right here that an acting commissioner of police has also been alerted to the Auditor General's report. So she based on this report, she sent it to the police and she sent it to FID, Financial Investigative Division. All right. Moving right along. Now, they said we're going to take a surcharge action against her. And now, people, a surcharge action is when a government official pays money that it shouldn't have paid to whomever. And as a result of that, the financial secretary, I think that's her title, that person can bring a surcharge action against the person. So, hold on, let me turn this down. I think I'm getting feedback here. Yes. Mic check. So anyway, so they're bringing the surcharge action against this lady because they're saying that she's responsible. She's not the only person responsible. Remember, she's acting. There was someone before her who they claim was responsible for most of that money. They're attributing approximately $11 million of that 124 to this lady. She was there when the bulk went, and she became the acting based on what the report says. She became the acting, and she's responsible for about 11 or 12 million dollars. So then they said, okay, here it is. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, they're taking the surcharge action against her in relation to the 124 million, not for the entire amount. So you see what's going on here. Money is paid. Can't find out anything about the money. They said, okay, who's responsible for this? They pointed to this lady, and they pointed to, if you look right here, it says a similar surcharge action has been taken against Permanent Secretary Dean Roy Bernard, who he was suing the government because I think they got rid of him, and he was suing the government to get reinstated. So they're bringing the surcharge action against Dean Roy Bernard and Dr. Grace McLean for the entire 124 million. And of that amount, Dr. McLean is responsible for about 11 million. So, and who's bringing the action? Ministry of Finance. And who told us that? Excuse me. Minister Favour Williams. See, it's right there. Here's what she said. She said surcharge action was taken by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and the letters would have been written to the Permanent Secretary. And she said, and I know that she has taken the necessary steps to deliver the letters that would have come to her. And that is a quote attributed to Minister Favour Williams. And let's move to the next one. That's that. They're bringing the action against her. Hey, look at this. The Minister of Finance says, Minister Favour Williams, you're wrong. We're not bringing any action against this woman. Remember now, people, these are people who are supposed to know these things. We vote for them because we think they have big brains. And we say they're going to run this thing like we can't run it. And so we are going to entrust confidence in them that they will do what they campaign to do and also what they're required to do by law, by policy, by regulation. So you see this lady here, she was saying, no, the Ministry of Finance is going to start the surcharge, has started the surcharge action. And then the Ministry of Finance says, no, it is right here. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has shut down statements from Education Minister Favour Williams and her deputy, Mr. Morgan, that the Finance Ministry has taken surcharge action against acting permanent secretary in the Education Ministry, Dr. Grace McLean. So you see what's going on here. This is what you call a circular firing squad. The people responsible for dispersing the funds, the permanent secretary, Dean Roy Bernard, and the acting permanent secretary, Dr. Grace McLean, they're in the middle. And on one side of them, you have the Ministry of Finance, and on the other side, you have the Ministry of Education. And they're firing at them. And what happened? Both of them ducked. They ducked. So now you have the two ministries firing at each other. So that's I won't even go too far with this thing. Dr. Clark made it quite clear that no, we're not doing any of this. Not doing any of this. There it is right there. Finance and Education Ministries wrangle over surcharge action against Bernard and McLean. You believe this? The money's gone. We know whose hands, we know whose fingerprints on all of this. The permanent secretary and the acting permanent secretary. And we're fighting over who's going to bring the action so we can get the money back. There it is right there. There's Dean Roy Bernard. Yeah, he's responsible for 112 million, sorry. And she's responsible for 11.2. And see what it says now. The Finance Ministry is considering surcharge. So remember, this thing happened about 2019, thereabouts. And here it is, 2022. They're still figuring out who's going to bring the action. They're still figuring out who is going to bring the action. Here is a statement saying that the Ministry of Finance hereby advises that it is currently in the process of gathering and reviewing information to inform evaluation of the recommendation made by the Auditor General for surcharge. The Ministry of Finance is in the process of gathering and reviewing information. Folks, let me tell you something. This is absolute nonsense. You know why? Because all of this gathering and reviewing was done. All of these things were done by the Auditor General and put in a report, which I'm going to show you in a few. It was done. So I don't know why the delay. Why are they delaying? Why the delay? Let me skip this and move on. Let me skip that. Now, finally, 2022, the Finance Ministry takes surcharge action. They mean business. There it is. They mean business. So this is 2022. The report came out in 2021, I believe. But the monies were paid way before that. So let me. All right. Now, let's go to, let me see, which one should I go to? Joint Committee for Tertiary. All right. Here we go. This is the Auditor General's report. And it's a special report, which she's commissioned to do. And it's against a company by the name of Joint Committee for Tertiary Education. Joint Committee for Tertiary Education. There it is. Remember that name. Remember that name. Here we go. Fasten your seatbelt.
I'm going to get a helmet for this show.
Yeah, here, helmet. There is the date it was submitted. October 11th, 2021. Don't worry about the circle. Because I worry about the circle, and I criticized my circle this morning. And the circle not good, but no, let me tell you something about this report, people. I'm going to have to, it is chock full of information. Information that you could consider bombshell. For some reason, it wasn't put out in the media. What we got in the media was just blurbs. We just got blurbs. But I'm going to show you something now that will shock you. Hold on. Here we go. And by the way, this report is available online. I didn't get this through an ATI. But you're going to see segments of it where it's just blocks of green, and green meaning the highlight. And as you all know, Kevin is the one responsible for that. So here is the main issue. The main issue here it is. The main issue is that there's no evidence of governance and monitoring framework by the portfolio ministry. Now, you remember what the minister came on and said? She came on and said, we have guardrails. and there's a strict process. Remember, she said that. This is what the investigation showed. No evidence of governance and monitoring framework. So how can you come out and say we have guardrails and we have strict procurement process and it's difficult and blah, 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 blah. This is what, look at what she said after the second one. The permanent secretary facilitated TRN for the transfer of government funds to an advisory committee without ministry approval. People, that is criminal. You facilitated the transfer of a government TRN to an advisory, and you're going to find out that the advisory committee is a private committee, and you're going to see how they made it private without approval. Look at the next one. The company that we talked about, the joint tertiary, whatever, their leadership refused to provide documentation to the Auditor General. And look at the last point. The ministry could not account for the JCT's use of government funds. These are the issues. Let's keep going. There you have the conclusions and the recommendations. I highlighted this one where the Auditor General said they should consider surcharge action against 2 senior officers of the industry where funds disbursed cannot be accounted for. You're gonna see how cannot be accounted for translates into lost. All right. Now, I look like a Christmas tree. I'm gonna have to read some of this, and just because it's mind-blowing, people, mind-blowing. I'm gonna have to read some of this and just explain to you. Right? Look at the first highlighted section. It says this is in the context where an audit of the Caribbean Maritime University had identified a possible conflict of interest between the JCTE, which is a Joint Committee for Tertiary Education, and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education. So there were lookings over there, and the investigation led them over here. So they meaning the Auditor General, started their investigation in December of 2019. Right? And look at what they said right there at the top. We experienced a limitation of scope during this audit owing to the JCTE chairman's refusal to provide the accounting records. What that says is we went to them and we said, we want the records. And the man said, "Me nah argue no." And I'm going to show where the Auditor General messed up too. She did good work here, but she didn't cross the finish line. And I'm going to show you where. It says the chairman of the JCTE asserted that he privatized a government entity. People who don't believe this, he privatized a government entity, and on that basis, the Auditor General has no authority to review such records. That is a false position. It is true that he privatized the entity, but it is not true that the Auditor General has no authority to review such records. We're going to show you. Then look at this now. The acting permanent secretary, this is Grace McLean, Dr. Grace McLean, suggested that she was helpless to convince the chairman to provide the records. And then she said she had no knowledge that the chairman privatized the company. And she said the ministry would cease doing business with JCTE. Look in red at what the Auditor General said. I don't know if I can get it. She said, it is my opinion that the arguments of the chairman, the permanent secretary, and the acting permanent secretary are unacceptable. That's a nice word, unacceptable. For so what you really want to say. But believe me, we all know what that word means in that context. Look at the next sentence. The chairman does not have the authority to privatize a government entity. And he did. You know the popular refrain, what could I go so? It went so. He privatized it.
And they
Listen,
allowed it.
and they allowed it. They said the chairman's private entity is separate and apart from the JCTE, the special committee established by the Minister of Education. Now, listen to this. It should be noted. Remember that now the acting permanent secretary, Miss Dr. Grace McLean, said, I didn't know anything about it. Look at this. It should be noted that Miss Dr. McLean permitted the transfer of $11 million to JCTE after her failed attempt to obtain the accounting records from the chairman, despite knowing that the chairman laid claims that he's the owner of the company and refused to comply with the Auditor General's request for information. So she knew that this man take the government entity, privatize it, start and make one of them get the TRN number for the government entity, gave it to him, money started funnel through. She knew that there was a problem with this and that no more money should have been going to him, and she still gave me 11 million more. Here's what happened. This JCTE, it's an advisory board. Nothing more, nothing less. An advisory board. What the chairman of that board, you know what he did, ladies and gentlemen? He went down to the appropriate agency to record a company called JCTE Limited. He added limited to the government agent, to the advisory body. And then it became a private company. And then they took the TRN number. This permanent secretary got the TRN number, the government TRN number, and have him use that to funnel funds, not to the government established advisory body, JCTE, no, but to the private company, JCTE Limited. That's why I'm telling you people that a lot of you, most of you, we can't do this. We cannot do it because we don't have people in high places who can go get TRN number. We don't even know if we now go register a government entity and put limited at the end and make it a private company. And then all of a sudden now the government thing, now everybody forget about the government JCTE because everybody's now dealing with JCTE Limited, which is a private company. Look at this. The Auditor General went to the acting permanent secretary and gave her a draft report. The acting permanent secretary provided no additional supporting documentation, none, to that report. They said, however, she did provide some information. And here's it right here. They said, the documents submitted including payment vouchers prepared by the ministry, supported by invoices prepared by JCTE. The Auditor General said, I advised Dr. McLean that the information is insufficient. Remember that. Unacceptable, insufficient. Powerful words. Said, no, Don, I put on the red because I like danger. You know, I real highlight. And it says, she says, insufficient as the documents provided, look in red, do not represent supplier invoices, which are required to determine how the funds were utilized. So they make up some documents and give them. And she said, no, if you don't spend the money, I want to see who to spend the money with. I want to get receipts from those people. Not receipts from give me. When you spend the money somewhere else, so we want the receipts from somewhere else. Those people that you spend the money with, we want those receipts. Now, folks, for all of you out there who thought that there is no missing funds, I can't say what it is. It's just unaccounted for. Look at the last sentence. It says, and this is coming from the Auditor General. She says, insofar as 144 million cannot be accounted for, this is deemed a loss of government funds. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. This is deemed a loss. So when she come and tell you, say, oh, we just didn't file the paperwork, but the paperwork is being filed. The Attorney General just tell you that they gave me paperwork and the paperwork is insufficient. The paperwork is not the paperwork that I can use to say I can bless this and say this spending was good. And after we tell the lady, don't give them no more money, she give them more money. And then then surcharge action supposed to be brought, and the two agencies them start point fingers like this. Them not serious. I could go down through this. All right, here's it now. It says right here. The JCTE is what? A special advisory committee. That's all it is. Appointed by the minister in 1991. That's all it is. Special Advisory Committee. Look at 5, where it says, given that JCT had no separate legal status from its members, it did not have a TRN and was unable to receive direct payments from government entities. So how the hell did it get a TRN? If it shouldn't have gotten a TRN, how it got a TRN? Here's how it got the TRN. Look at 3. In January 2017, the permanent secretary wrote to the tax people requesting a taxpayer registration for JCTE. There it is. That's how it was done. Remember me telling you, Uno can't do it, you know. You, my people, you cannot do this. You cannot run this scheme here. You know why? Not because you don't have the brain, you just don't have the contacts. Don't have the contacts. How many of you out there know a permanent secretary that you can go to and say, listen, get me on a advisory board and me go just register it as a private entity, and then we want you to get a TRN number and then give me the TRN number, and that way that when people think the money I got to the government entity, it actually come to me. How many of you can do that? How many of you? Look where we have the red thing right there. So it says further, we saw no evidence that the permanent secretary sought approval from the Ministry of Finance to provide the JCTE with a TRN, or that the Ministry of Finance was consulted before the ministry took a decision to transfer funds to JCTE, given JCTE's established status as an advisory committee. It's right there, folks. It's right there. And here's where, and this goes into how them set up the program, and she said another thing that, oh, they were doing training. They not doing no training. It's advisory committee. They were supposed to exert administrative abilities over the program. And here it is right there in red. They were supposed to get an administrative fee, not $124 million. And then this talks about the program that they were supposed. Oh, guess what happened? You see the programs that they were supposed to manage. It says of the 19 tertiary institutions which deliver this particular training, it says the private tertiary institution owned by the chairman of JCT received the largest portion. You believe that? No, if this is not conflict of interest, him get the money and Fim thing get most of the money. And it's not one set of money, I know, Kevin. They will get money from heart. I mean, this scheme is something else. Oh, here it is. Hart transferred 75 million to him, to the JCTE. And look at what, and the money was supposed to come back to the ministry. Look right at the top of the screen in green. It says the acting permanent secretary in the ministry stated that the ministry did not receive any funds. So where is this 75 mil? Come on, people. And see, So this 75 million in paragraph 6 is different from the 124 in paragraph 7.
Eh?
See, 'cause the first sentence in paragraph 7, he says, on the other hand, meaning separate and apart from the 75 mil, the ministry transferred 124 million to JCT over a 32 months period. And
So it's
further,
really
it says, the ministry has not been able to account for the utilization of the 124 million. Right here, they have not provided any supporting invoices. Right here, we saw no supplier invoices to support the funds disbursed. And it goes on and on and on. Now, here's what she said. Keep in mind, people, this is somebody who has a first-hand look at what's going on, the Auditor General, that is. Here's what she says in red. She says, this is a matter which must be further investigated to determine whether a fraud has been committed by a private institution using a TRN for a government institution to receive money under false pretense. Need I say more? This is as plain as it gets. She's saying we need to have a fraud investigation because we have a private institution using a government TRN to get money under false pretense. It is right here. Despite, in red again, despite having purportedly learned in January 2020 from the chairman that he registered a company with the name JCTE Limited and was now imposing this company on the government and refusing to account for government funds received, the acting permanent secretary, Dr. Grace McLean, still allowed transfers amounting to 11 million. It's right there.
all right. Because I don't think we have all of the. I don't think we did do the math. So there was a 124 million.
Yes.
There was a further 75 million.
Yes.
That's 199 million.
Yes.
And now we have another 11 million.
No, the 11 is part of the 124.
Okay.
So we have 75 and 124.
So we have 199 million.
Yes.
We need answers for.
Yes.
Okay. That's
No, here's where it gets interesting. The Auditor General, Pamela Monroe Ellis, why I'm telling you, I got touch you a bit, When I say touch you, not physically, just touch you for sure. Say there were things that you could have done, but in the main, I respect the ground you walk on because she went out and she did the work. She and her team, because she didn't do it by herself. Look at what you found in 9. They said we found that the chairman of the JCT had funded a party for the permanent secretary in 2017, the same year that the ministry took the decision to facilitate JCT being assigned a TRN. So the same year that they, wait, I sat there. Big up yourself, brother.
Greetings.
The same year, Kevin, that the chairman for this advisory committee, who registered the committee as a private entity, the same year him have a party for the permanent secretary, is the same year them facilitating getting the TRN, the government TRN. Same year. And then them call people scammers. And here to say, we have been trying fervently to get the accounting record from JCT since November 29. And them also, they brought the matter to the Ministry of Finance to no avail. Nothing happened. And then she go back and say persons authorizing such transfers are accountable for the use of such funds. And here are the recommendations, which you saw earlier. Look at 4. The matter should be referred to the JCF or an anti-corruption agency for further investigation. That's the fraud piece that you're talking about. And I'm telling you, people, I got so depressed reading this thing because every time I thought that I couldn't get more information out of it, there it was more information. So when you read the jam piece just says 124 given to an entity without any legal status and no accountability. So if you read that, you tempted to say, okay, all right, fine. But when you start read and you start look at the details as to how that came about, it's frightening. So what I'm telling you that poor people picnic can't do this. Poor people picnic. I won't even tell you about some of these things with them right. This is the rationale for the audit. This is where they were talking about why they did it and the connection. All of this stuff here, people, I won't even go into it. I'm urging you to go read this for yourself, right? Go read this for yourself, and you will see that this was not above board. This was not what Minister Favour Williams come out and say on the ambassador's platform, that we have strict procedures and we have guardrails and we have this. Them jump over the guardrails. Them jump.
So, Rebel.
I'm an Emmanuel Ellis, Auditor General. Like I say, I respect the ground you're walking, but
so
I'm not sure you know which part.
How people must go read it for themselves? Where must people go to go read it for themselves?
Just Google it, man.
Google
See
what?
that? Google Auditor General Special Audit Report, Joint Committee for Tertiary Education. That's the name of the company. That's the name of the advisory body that was privatized by the chairman. Then put a man in and say, you are the chairman for the government entity. And the man turned on and say, smart on them, you know. What I'm going to do is take the name and just add limited to it and register it. I'm going to make the permanent, you're going to keep a party and for the permanent secretary, I'm going to, nice him up and things. I'm going to get a TRN number for the government, but a TRN number will come to me because people now look upon the difference is just the limited. You know, when a scammer like them do something, Kevin, and you see it where them send out something with an email address and them change one letter in it, right?
Yeah.
And you just scan over it and just send whatever you send because you not pay attention. It's the same thing here. It's the same name, Joint Committee for Tertiary Education Limited. That's all he did, and get the TRN number for the committee without the limited, and then them just get it, and them just start funnel the money. And then when they knew about it, and when the Auditor General went and said, "Listen, I need a record from him," he said, "No, I'm not giving you anything because this is a private entity and you have no jurisdiction here," which is not true. So I could get to that. Not sure it. How are they, Kevin?
I something I keep a party for you. You can hook me up on.
All right.
3 times now.
Yeah, they know.
All right. Let me see now. The proclamation, part 3. We start with part 3. We could go to part 3. See, people, this is how we do at night time, you know. This is how we do at night time. See that? This, the Jamaican Gazette, is a supplement of the rules and regulations going back to the Financial Administrative and Audit Act, which we are going to show no later what that act they say. But let's go to 23, section 23. Where were they now? Oh, here we chat about budget call and all of them full. See it right here, sir. It says right here, a budget call is no later than November the 30th of each year, where every department have to submit, them spending requirements for the following year. That's all it is. And we never ask her any questions about that. We know about that. And she come and chat pure foolishness. All right, here we go. No, open the can't see that. You can't see that, Kevin? You can't see that?
Yeah.
I don't know if Isaac can see. All right, here we go. It talks about an accounting officer, saying that every agency, every ministry, them have an accounting officer, somebody who's supposed to make sure say everything financially, everything are run properly, right? And it's and them say acting permanent secretary can also be appointed. You have to be appointed, right? So that's that. And then you have to get a copy of it, the letter, to the financial secretary. Now, here's where we get into the thing now. We don't know, 25, then we go to 39. Hold on, 38, 39. And it says the minister shall authorize the financial secretary to issue instructions to principal receivers of revenue regarding refunds and drawbacks from revenue collected. That have nothing to do with it, because we not collect the money. Public money should not be used in an authorized manner. That's not our business. All right. Here's our business. Look on 48. Accounting and accountable officers shall ensure that there exists a proper system of internal control and adequate authority for disbursements of all public funds. That never happened. Look at 2. Any officer directing or making any unauthorized disbursement shall be personally responsible for the amount. This is where you call the surcharge action, right? We'll get to that. 56. All right. Remember me showing you the one. Kevin. Remember me showing you the one where them pay salaries after the people gone?
Mm-hmm.
Look on 56. Salaries and allowance shall not be paid beyond the date of expiration of vacation leave, and by extension, any leave. If they take leave, if you're gone from the company, you can't pay. You can't pay on that. Get paid beyond the date after you're gone. You can't. Sure. Part 4. Hold on there. All right, here it is now. Them say the financial secretary shall prescribe the accounting policies to be used by departments. So she under the gun right there. So all of this explain what is required of the financial secretary. And if you remember, they brought her there. Here it is again. They brought her to the meeting at the post cabinet. Here again, 69, it says the financial secretary shall prescribe the guidelines for preparing monthly, quarterly, annually, and other financial reports to be submitted to a whole bunch of people, including the Auditor General. And it gives you the dates that you have to submit all of those things. And it shows that they must be checked before providing it to the Auditor General. If they had checked before providing all of this, wouldn't they have they must have realized that, wait a minute, this money are gone at the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that never happened. All right, here we come now. Remember, we're showing you where the Auditor General in her report, she says, which part? Let me just, for those of you who join us late and remember, where report it. Public Procurement Act, Joint Committee. All right. You remember this? Hold on. Right. Remember this? Where she said, insofar as 124 million cannot be accounted for, this is deemed a loss of government funds. Remember, I told you to remember that word, loss, or remember the phrase, loss of government funds. If you notice, the government, the Minister Dana Morris Dixon, Minister Faval Williams, Ambassador Marks, if you notice, none of them said there was a loss.
Yeah, they don't use those words.
They don't say it's a loss, but here the Auditor General said there's a loss. No, if that the money was yeah. No, make we go to the like this Kevin. No, that's the other one. This one, yeah. Make we look and see how them define a loss. Look at 78. A loss shall be considered to have occurred when the government is deprived of the use of any public or trust monies. And look at 79. When a loss is discovered, the accounting officer shall cause an investigation into the circumstances of the loss, and it lays out what they must do. It lays out what they must do. Did they do this with 124 million? Not to mention the 75. We need not focus on the 75. We're focused on the 125. 124. They didn't. And nobody's using the word loss. What they're saying is here, the government is deprived. We don't have the money. The money is gone. So what is this nonsense about, oh, it's just a matter of filing? The man who took the money says, I'm not giving you this money back. I'm not giving you any paperwork. The money's gone. You know, we never put up, Kevin, we never put up the one for the little girl, the student. My fault. But that's okay. Because there's a student did a report, did an essay talking about scarce resources in the schools and the impact on education, on learning. This is what we're talking about when the money, when the money gone, when there is a loss. That's what we are talking about. And look at this. A loss may be in 81. A loss may be revealed by the discovery of any deficiency within the accounts of any public officer. An accounting officer shall ensure that adequate investigation is made of a loss. Take prompt action to ensure rectification of weaknesses in the system. How did Dr. McNeil take action to rectify weakness in the system when after she was informed that don't give the man no money, she turned around and she gave $11 million more? That's in the Auditor General's report. How you rectify weakness by doing that? You encourage the weakness. You cause more weakness in the system when you do that. And then here's another thing, people, that we have to watch. What we have to watch, is that the financial secretary has the right to write off the loss. So guess what? Who that never hear about it? If the financial secretary had jumped in and just said, all right, I'm going to write off the loss, who would never hear nothing about it? But it gets worse. Now, them talk about expenditure losses. And under that, you have improper payments arising from transactions that are contrary to law, but which do not involve any offense under the criminal code, and exclude cases of gross waste or extravagance. We're going to show you something in the Public Procurement Act, which it says something different. Now, here's the one that we're concerned with. Fraudulent payments which arise from transactions which involves the commission of an offense by the use of falsified documents or certificates to steal money or other property belonging to the government. Because I can tell you that that TRN number, there's something wrong with that application for that TRN number. There's something wrong there, right? And here's another one, because you have different types of losses in people. You have financial losses, you have expenditure losses, and I think there might have been another one up here. Cash deficiency. So you can pick any one of them you want. No. Financial loss. Here's the financial loss: irregular advances and loans when money cannot be recovered because government cannot establish a claim against any person or institution, and that might be where you can't get the money back. Like they brought the action and the action was just terminated. And we're going to show you why. Look at this. Any officer who discovers a loss must report it immediately to the accounting officer, who shall report it to the Auditor General. Did anybody report this to the Auditor General? No.
Who
The Auditor
discovered it?
General found it on her own.
That's because it wasn't discovered.
Look, all of these people, these are regulations concerning law, saying that what you must do to protect taxpayers' money, not government money. And look at this. If the circumstances indicate that a criminal offense has been committed, report the matter to the police. They did, but how long after? And then you have 24 hours to complete and investigate. Oh, come on, man. Look, where an accounting officer is implicated in the loss, the financial secretary or auditor general shall cause an investigation to be so conducted. Well, the auditor general will tell you that, well, yeah, we conducted an investigation of Dr. Grace McLean and the gentleman. And that's how we found out that 149 million just missing,
You mean
And-
124 or total
Yeah.
of 199?
And then the way this is written, there's something, I don't want to go into it now, people, because it's technical. It's called a tolling provision, where the law says that, like, for example, you have to bring an action within a year, right? Then there are some tolling provisions, meaning that it stops the time from run. So, for example, if you have to bring an action against somebody for tolling, I bring an action against somebody for some kind of, some kind of crime or whatever, and the person flee, then what happens is that some statute will say if the person intentionally flee to avoid being prosecuted, then there's a tolling provision. So the period can't run. Because if they would allow it to run, everybody would have just flee, the time run off, and then you can't bring the action. And this, I think 90 and 1 and 2, it indicates a tolling provision. But we don't want to go into that, because it don't take up too much time. And it says recovery of a loss shall not be a substitute for criminal prosecution. Let me see how far down we go. There is one here. There's one here where them say, oh, this one, yeah, they say that the accounting officer shall bring the matter to the notice of the general public. None of them not do that. There's one here I want to show you. Which one is it? Surcharge. This is a surcharge now. This is when they pay out the money and now the government say, okay, we're coming after you to get the money, right? And here it says right there, surcharge is the recovery of an amount overpaid or a recoupment of any loss sustained by the government for which the public officer is responsible and was found liable, right? Now, here it says the financial secretary may surcharge an officer where it is found that there's loss of public funds arising from negligence or recklessness. Now, negligence or recklessness, people, it doesn't have intent. Negligence is an accident. Like you're driving down the road, you're not paying attention, boom, you get in an accident. That's negligence. Recklessness is you're driving the car in a 100 miles an hour in a 20 mile an hour zone. There's no intent to kill anyone, but they say you're reckless because there's a high possibility that you would have hit somebody or caused an accident. This doesn't speak to intent. This does not speak to intent. That's a problem right there. So what this is saying to me is that if there is intent, then you have to bring a criminal action first, and then you bring the surcharge after. Right?
Okay. So even if you find the money with this, it's not necessarily the criminal aspect of it is neglected.
Yeah, unless you can prove intent. If you can prove intent, then you go criminal. It's weird. But there's something here. I don't know where there's a. Okay, all right. So that's that. Right? And remember, people, because we come up on time and we're sure it to come off so she can talk about immigration. Remember, look this up, the Jamaican Gazette, right? Tuesday, April 12, 2011. Now I'm going to show you 2 more documents and then I exit the stage. Here's one. No, that document I just showed you is a supplement to this. This is the Financial Administration and Audit Act. There it is. The document I just showed you is supplementing this, right? Now let's go to 20 and I'll show you something. Okay, here we go. Surcharge. It says, and this basically mirrors the supplement. It just says if somebody pay money and they shouldn't have paid it or whatever, then you go after them. This one, Don, pay attention to this one, because you say may I blind you with the red and the green. Look at this. It says no surcharge shall be made after the expiration of a period of 3 years from the date of such failure to collect. Now, you see the problems with that statute here? Tell me if you see the problem with this.
Time sensitive.
Yeah, but here's what happened. If I thief the money 4 years ago, and you just find out now, you can't bring the charge against me because it says it's 3 years from the date of the failure to collect.
Wasn't this 2021?
Actually, no, the money was paid out, I think, in 20, was it 20? No, the Auditor General found out in 2021.
So 2019.
2019.
But
So there's a problem here, people. There's a problem here. This statute said 3 years from the date you fail to collect. And this is what, and you can search it. This is what it says: 3 years from fail to collect. But you know what? Let me show you something. With the next one, there, Kevin. Like this. There's another one, man.
But
Like this.
I'm scot free.
All right. Look on this one, I know. This act is, let me show you the name of that one here. The Public Procurement Act of 2015. Right? Remember now, we know the Financial Administration and Audit Act said 3 years from the time the thing occurred. Look at this one here now. Wait there. Go too far. All right, Tita. Look here. Look at the top. No such surcharge shall be made after the expiration of 3 years. From when? From the date that the loss came to the attention of the Auditor General. So the question I have is this: why didn't you use this statute? Why they use the FAAA, FAAA? Why they use that one where they say, oh, it's 3 years from the time the action was committed? Why didn't you use this one where it says 3 years from the time the Auditor General found out about it? So it would have been 3 years from 2021. Because that's when she tabled her report.
But either way, no action was taken, and as we stand right now, those that are guilty of whatever action was taken, not to say that they're guilty of something criminal, but the action that was taken, there's no recourse at this point.
No, because guess what happened? When the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Education finally figured it out and decided, okay, fine. What they did was they brought the action, and we have the
Oh, that was one of
the thing up here. Yeah, we have it where they drop the surcharge action. They drop the surcharge. I don't see it up here, but they dropped the surcharge action. Because you know why? Them said 3 years gone by. 3 years gone by, so them dropped the surcharge action. So I mean, some people would argue that it was by design. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. Yeah?
That would be my argument. Yes, Paul, yeah. I agree with you. It's by design. Because the mere fact that they did the finger pointing thing.
Yes.
Who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third. They went through that. So there's that. There's a dragging of the feet. There's the explanation that was given about no funds being missing. It's just late accounting and late reporting and
Kevin, ask yourself this question: where is the criminal action? The Auditor General says, I believe that fraud, I suspect that fraud was committed here because you have a private company using a TRN obtained by the permanent secretary, and we can't give an account for the money.
But that is the first criminal action.
It should have been the first criminal. Yeah, that should have taken place first.
So the other question is, how many criminal actions have taken place here by individuals who are put in positions to represent people of Jamaica with taxpayers?
I have a throat man's. A lot. If you start go through this thing and parse it, you realize how many criminal actions could have been brought in court. And by the way, people, fraud in Jamaica has a 6-year statute of limitation. 6. Now remember, this happened in 2019.
So this year.
Right? Yeah, this is the last year. It should be, and I don't know, I can ask ISAT about the fraud statute, if it's 6 years from the time you found out about it or 6 years from the time that the act was committed. Which one is it, ISAT?
Unmute you. Hold on,
Six
Brett.
years from the 6 years from the act.
6 years
The
from that.
limitation is 6 years. Yeah.
Right. So it's not when you found out about it.
No, it's from from the act is done.
Okay. So 2019
Hmm.
till now. So what I'm telling them is that if they don't bring that action this year, and it may have gone already, it may have happened in January, who knows? I don't know.
January.
If they don't bring that fraud action, guess what, people? $124 million gone.
Well,
And guess what?
199.
Yeah, and guess what? Nobody is going to prison. Nobody's going to prison.
But you know what? You know what I find very interesting. There is a charge called larceny by a public servant.
Okay.
And I don't know why that wasn't pursued. So the person that caused the money to go out commits the larceny, and the person who received the money has received stolen property. Not
What's the
hearing
statute
you.
of limitation on that?
No, there's none. Once it's identified, so it's criminal. And so people are being we are always caught in this technicality that where they put, the two Jamaicas, they upper echelons, they can be corrupted and investigated for corruption. But if he's a thief in any form. Larceny by trick, larceny by a public servant, and the people who facilitate are either conspirators to it or receivers of the stolen property.
Oh,
So at this point in time, who can raise this issue? Who can file that? Who can
The
take action?
the complainant is the public, So I mean, the Ministry of Education is defrauded, and a simple fix is that where you defraud, all you have to do is charge a larceny, and then the crown, which is the clerk, at half a tree. Yeah, it would be half a tree, given where the crime was committed. Simply prosecutes the case. I mean, they do it too. They have done it. They're doing it now in a case, but I'm a part of that case, so I'm not going to talk about the case. Because the real people, them were thief the money, is not before the court. But anyway, here we are.
well,
So
now,
anybody can file that. Anybody can go ahead and.
In Jamaica, a citizen can do private prosecution.
so how about a citizen outside of Jamaica? We have standing.
You have no standing, sir.
We're really gonna go down that road again.
No,
Rocky?
stop right there.
Okay, because you know you have standing.
All right.
Don't care what they tell you.
No, here is some people. I can show you a bunch of provisions in the Gazette, as well as the Procurement Act, showing you that people just, again, it would appear as if it's done by design, because there's so many things there that they should have followed. Nobody followed, right? Now, remember I told you that I just love Pamela Monroe Ellis. I just love her to death. I love her bravery. I love her enthusiasm. I love her focus. There's so many things to love about her, but we're all people and we're susceptible to making mistakes. Let me tell you the mistake she made. And let me juxtapose it to this one. You remember when the Prime Minister was under investigation for the 28 bank accounts and other things, that according to the Integrity Commission, he did not cooperate with them. He would not provide certain things. In the Integrity Commission Act of 2017, the Integrity Commission had the right to go before a court without the Prime Minister's knowledge and get a warrant, get a legal instrument to compel him to give them that information. Now, of course, he had a right to oppose it, but they could have gone to court and asked him and shame him to say, why is it, Mr. Prime Minister, that you have fight us from getting stuff that you're supposed to give us so that we can verify your statutory declaration? Why? But they didn't do it. They did not do it. The Integrity Commission didn't do it. And I fault them for that. Similarly, the Auditor General, let's look at her duties. Remember what she said now, she said, I asked the man for the stuff, and the man said, I'm not giving it to me, and that's it. I just do my report. Now, let me show you something here. If you look here, you'll see what it says she can do with government agencies. So it says here, under the control of any officer, to call upon any officer, to require any accounting officer, to require every person employed in his office, to station members of his staff in any department. It's all talking about government officials. So somebody could rightly say, but Rattigan, if you're trying to say that she could do something, but she didn't do it, all of these things that you're talking about, it shows that it's with the government. No, the entity you're talking about is a private entity. So what right would she have under the FAAA to go and force this man to give her documentation? What right? You could reasonably ask me that if you read up to this part right here. If you go even further, any officer, where any officer. Now, here is where it takes a turn. Number 6. It says the Auditor General shall be entitled to summon and examine on oath, declaration, or affirmation all persons whom he shall think fit to examine respecting the receipt or payment of money. All persons. They didn't say all government officials. All persons who the Auditor General feel would have something that can help the investigation. And look at what 6A says. It says, any person summoned under the provisions of subsection 6 who without reasonable excuse, and saying that I'm a private entity is not an excuse. They say makes default in obeying such summons shall be guilty of an offense and shall be liable on summary conviction in a resident magistrate's court to a fine not exceeding $5,000, which is crap, or in default of payment to imprisonment for a period of not exceeding 6 months. So she could have taken him to court. So when she said, I asked him and he said, well, I'm not giving it to me, and then that's it. Auditor General, go back and read it. Go back and read FAAA section away there. 25, duties of Auditor General. Section 25, and then you go down to 4, 5, 6. Where is it? Yeah, 6 and 6A. 6 and 6A. You could have done something, but you didn't do it. And I have to give you a demerit for that. Because if you defend the people, then, right, Auditor General, you have to defend the people. Then. If you defend the people, you defend the people. That's how I look at it. And the same thing for the Integrity Commission. If you're going to defend the people, you defend the people. If the Prime Minister is not giving you information that you're required to have, then you go to court. You go to court. So, folks, we don't have much time left, so that's why when I now get to the other section, we have Shernetta will come talk about immigration. She should be here in a minute now. But you know, remember telling her that this scheme, none of that I know would be able to pull this off. No. Because here's what you need. You need to be appointed to a committee. You need to have friends with the permanent. You need to become friends with the permanent secretary. And you need to have the cojones to tell the Auditor General when she come to you and say, I want to see the receipts, and say, go ahead. I'm not give you nothing. Because guess what I do? I take the government entity and I privatize it. I put limited on it and register it and use TRN number and collect on the money. Right? Yeah, OT, the Auditor General should have do something, man. Stand up, man, and fling a stone. Do something. But you just say, Hurricane Hattie said she could get eyes for doing it. Well, yeah, but that's where we are. Anyway,
She should
folks,
have done a job.
yeah, anyway, I want to make me know how it go. See, make me know how this presentation will go. Before you give me any constructive criticism or when you want to take me to task, I want to forget and read the documents them when I show you. Read them, get your own understanding, get a second opinion if you need to, or a third opinion, and then next week we can talk about it. Because I'm of the opinion that fraud was involved here and that we need to bring criminal action. And if we don't bring it sometime this year, the money is, well, I start say you can still bring some charges. But let's see if they're going to bring the charges, because that $124 million, and I'm so sorry I don't have the essay to show you that a student wrote, and it touched me because she's saying we don't have resources and this is why we're undereducated. We don't have resources in our schools. But we're going to leave it right there.